Well, hello there.
We're back.
All right.
Did you figure out what the heck we're supposed to be doing? Because I didn't.
I did.
Okay, I didn't.
But before, because this appears to, I figured out how to get into the last bit, which appears to be a shorter 5th route.
Okay.
Before we hop into that, though, I do want to just kind of take a moment to collect ourselves going into this and kind of just reevaluate a few things we know about these boys and what's going on here.
Okay.
We know this story focuses around 4 different individuals, from boys to young men, which is a completely different band. All of whom were attending the funeral of someone named Natsume, right?
Yep.
That's where, and despite like some of them seeming to have connections to one another, it seems like that's not why they were all there. They were all there because of their relationship to Natsume.
Yep.
Any relationships they had with one another seemed to be kind of incidental at best. Like Natsume wasn't the friend of a friend that introduced them.
True.
Yeah. They all reportedly are talking about there's this lingering background event of the world going to end soon that all of them purport to hear about, and how it's like not really changing much about how they go about their lives. It's just, the world is going to end. It's a thing that's happening. And
which, to be fair, have you listened to any news report on climate change?
Yeah, that's true. I don't think that's what this game is going for, but yes.
What if it is?
What if it does turn out to be
That'd be dope.
If it turns out to be climate change, I will be impressed. All 4 of them then experience an illusion of an illusion of varying intensity of a figure named MAMIYA, right? This figure seems to both want to ostensibly wants to help these boys while also seeming to want them to give in to their worst impulses. It also in the routes where it's talked about it, MAMIYA has brought up the idea of these boys taking their place in the trichiliocosm. Didn't you figure out? Yeah, didn't you figure out what that word meant just from derivation games? Like
is it 3 chiliads of years or something? Let me Google that again, because I did and I forgot. But
yeah, while you do that, I'm gonna keep going over.
I think a chiliad is 1,000 years.
Yeah, so like the world of 3,000 years, right, or something like that.
Yeah, chiliad is a group of 1,000 or a millennium.
Okay, a group of 1,000 or a millennium. So either the world of 3,000 or the world of 3,000 years. All of their bodies are soon discovered by this unknown figure at the end, who seems to be the point of view person at the church at the beginning, right? And seems to lament that they were not supposed to die and doesn't know why. As one of the commenters on our last video pointed out, normally we wouldn't be able to react this quickly, but we've been a little bit behind in our recording. One of the commenters on our last video pointed out it doesn't seem like that person actually knows what MAMIYA is. Yeah, the person with the eye patch and the trench coat that shows up, they might not know who or what MAMIYA is. They might just be expressing genuine confusion. And while we've speculated that might be Natsume in some, it doesn't, that's just conservation of characters. It's still Act 1. It could be, that doesn't have to be true. Then the person in the trench coat and eye patch mentions that they'll go back to that church as many times as they need to. So that makes them presumably the point of view character there. We know that the routes the boys experience, I'm just going to call them the boys, even though one of them's like 22, it's just...
With a Z, of course.
Yeah.
The boys.
The boys with a Z, yep. The routes they experience, I believe they have to be mutually exclusive. I don't, there's just, either they're mutually exclusive or there's some, no. They have to be, it's not like they're all different versions of the same series of events. They're like parallel. They're not all within one timeline. Events that happen in one can't make it so they can't appear in another. Unless something fundamental about how this works is unclear to us. Finally, I'd like to draw our attention to the subtitle of the game, A Shared Illusion of the World's End. I guess the question is the world actually going to end? And if not, why do they all seem to think that everyone's talking about it? Is it indeed a shared illusion? And if it's shared between the boys, it's shared at the world at large? And what does that have to do with the world of 3,000, or the world of 3,000 years?
I've somehow figured this whole time that Shared Illusion of the World's End is about them all dying at the end of these routes, where it's like, oh, this is somehow figurative and not literal, that there's not literally news broadcasts going on all day and night about how the world is ending. They're aware subconsciously that their lives are coming to an end, either that they're suicidal or that like they know shit's bleak for them and it's all coming to a head, and they're wrestling with, what do I do when I'm coming up to the what feels like these final moments that I can't get out of? And that's been like in the back of my head, but I have nothing to justify that.
But see, I would have agreed with you on that, because that sounds much more evocative. But the way that it's come up has always been like, oh, I saw this on the news, or I heard people talking about it. It's not like they feel like their world is going to end. They feel like they are being told that the world is going to end. And I feel like that distinction makes it harder to read it under your...
Yep.
Because I agree, like that would be a very evocative kind of a metaphor for like that feeling of aimless, slow winding down when something grand has left your life, and you feel like this could be the end approaching you, and you don't know how to avoid it. And that's still, I feel like that's still like an important element to this, but I don't know if that's what the subtitle is referring to specifically.
I also have some fresh info about trichiliocosm.
I want to hear fresh
I hadn't
info.
Been aware of. So it's more than just the roots that I assembled together for it.
Mm-hmm.
It appears to be a specifically Buddhist concept that it's coming from.
Okay.
From the Sanskrit Trisahasramahasahasralokadatu, which I totally butchered, meaning 3,000 million world element, with the idea being it's something like this, that in our cosmology, our world that we live in and experience the cycle of samsara in and so on isn't the only one. Ours is one of many.
Do people know what the cycle of samsara is?
The cyclical cycle of suffering and reincarnation and so on.
Right, okay.
And, we're just one among many. There's thousands of them that together constitute one system. Then there's thousands of those, which together constitute another system. Then there's 1,000 of those, which together constitutes another system. And at that level, where you're talking about thousands of sets of thousands of worlds, that is the level at which a Buddha can see and experience and operate.
So that immediately gives us a fascinating new angle on what these parallel narratives might be.
Yeah, it could actually be. We're
seeing different versions of the cycle of samsara in these.
Something like that.
Right.
And I've probably butchered that as well, because this is the first time I'm learning about this from reading about it on the internet.
But that definitely gives it a whole new element, where maybe this MAMIYA character is someone who is outside. Maybe the MAMIYA character or the trenchcoat character are people who somehow operate outside the cycle of samsara.
This also ties in, I didn't realize, to the title of banger Taiwanese death metal album 3,000 Realms in a Single Thought Moment by Dharma.
Oh!
Which is in fact named after the same or a similar concept, as far as I can tell.
You had me listening to them a little bit. They were
they're pretty cool.
Yeah. Hard recommend.
So connections are starting to form in my brain.
Yeah, I just wanted to take like a moment to kind of like regain our bearings before we go into the final wrap of route of part 1, I should say.
I'm glad we did. I wouldn't have realized any of this stuff if you hadn't made me stop and reconsider what does trichiliocosm mean.
Yeah. I don't know about the experience for y'all, but for us in particular, just because of real life events, our process of recording this one has been really start and stop, which is something we try to avoid. So it just helps to take a moment to kind of collate everything, get it together. And now we're going to go ahead and actually load in. Or no, we're going to restart. We're going to go from the top now.
Okay.
Fall down.
Yep.
And now we're going to go back to the intro.
Okay. So we got to make different intro choices.
There's a different intro choice we're going to make. Yes. We are going to skip ahead because we've seen literally every permutation of this now, I think. It doesn't matter what seat we take here. We think nothing of it. Think nothing of it. Think nothing of it. And think nothing of it. Finally, this option has been grayed out every time.
Okay.
But now that we've done all route, we can stay put.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. No, you're this person.
As I stood in place, I realized most of the people had already left. Save for a few stragglers. I could still turn back now. Should I really not talk to any of them? Would I really have no regrets?
And now we're gonna... This is the, last opportunity to get back onto one of the boys' routes.
Yep.
So, instead, we are not going to move from where we are.
As I continued standing in place, I was soon left all alone. I silently approached the coffin. As my hand gingerly touched the lid, I heard the door behind me open. I'm pretty sure the funeral's already ended.
Oh, so this person is not indeed the POV character.
Really?
Yeah, the trench coat person is indeed not the point of view character here. Okay.
Oh, so I've just been reading the lines in the long.
No, that's fine. Which one do you want to go for? Do you want to take the
I want to be the cool trench coat person.
All right. I'll take over the... Oh, I just wanted to see Natsume's face one last time. His seemingly unfamiliar voice made me squint. My fist trembled with rage.
Wait, but this does seem like it's from this person's
Oh, it is from his perspective. Okay, yeah. Oh, I think I got caught up because he's finally they didn't show his sprite before.
Okay.
But they happened to just because because the first time you play through they don't want to show that, right? But it just happened they just started displaying a sprite as soon as the person that also came in happened to start talking.
Yep.
And then I got confused. Okay. We're back on it.
Who are you? I deeply cherished those four and wanted them to be happy.
Are you Natsume then?
They should never have met fates like that. And yet, everything went to hell because of MAMIYA.
Okay, he does know what MAMIYA is. Interesting.
I turned around. What are you? The man smiled in lieu of an answer. Putting all my heart and soul into it, I shouted at the man standing near the entrance as loudly as I could. I'll ask again. Come on, answer me. What the hell are you? Ever so slowly, the man before me parted his lips to speak.
MAMIYA.
Interesting.
Nice.
Is this the first intro sequence, or oh no, we got different
No, there are
ones
intro
for
sequences
each
for
one.
all of them. Is this the intro sequence or is this the credit sequence for part one? Oh, it made me think from the scroll. It made me think that it was.
Oh, hello.
Hello, MAMIYA 1. MAMIYA 2. And a bunch of characters we haven't seen. There's MAMIYA 3 in there, and then MAMIYA 4, I guess, is represented by the soap bubble. The MAMIYA doesn't show up in that one because the invisible one. What are you gonna do? Also, this music is great. Finally, we're getting to see these images that keep playing in the background of the title sequence. The title screen, I should say.
Why is the trench coat Bishonen so banged up? He's got so many face band-aids.
Maybe it's like Gumshoe from Ace Attorney. He's just got
Just bad at shaving.
yeah, bad at shaving, or just like it's fashion.
I'll save them. I'll save all those who came to my funeral, no matter what.
Okay, it is indeed Natsume.
Interesting.
I'm expecting great things, Natsume. Weird that no one recognized him as Natsume, but maybe that's also... All right, to be continued. Next, Downfall. All right. Could we have thrown that in at the end of the last episode? Sure, we could have. Are we just going to make that the start of this route where we go into Fall Down? Yes, we are. Oh, hey, the background changed.
So, now, is he actually dead, and this is his spirit in some way?
Mm-hmm.
Or is he not dead, and there's actually some, like, weird but normal conspiratorial faked my death shit going on?
Here's the thing. I don't think it's weird but normal. And the reason is that none of them recognize him. Unless Natsume had a mask on for the entirety of the time they knew him. Or unless something about his appearance changed so radically that they no longer recognized him or his voice. Which I'm not saying is impossible, but requires several more explanatory leaps. I think the fact that they don't recognize him and that he's present at his own funeral is more a sign that he is now perhaps outside. He's past that point in the cycle of samsara, right? He's either waiting to be reborn again or has somehow stepped outside of it and is trying to accomplish something else. But
Could be.
yeah, that's my guess. Anyway, I guess now we're just getting the little bit less impactful, but that's fine. We're now going to start Downfall.
Fall down, downfall.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they mean different things, right? It's a just important distinction, but because Downfall means that it's like something grand that is now being brought down, whereas Fall Down tends to be like...
I slipped on a banana peel.
Right.
It wouldn't be a downfall if I slipped on a banana peel, but I would definitely fall down.
Weirdly enough, now that I've explained it that way, they almost feel like they mean the same way, but I think Downfall implies an outside agent, whereas Fall Down implies you did it yourself. Like, you fell down from grace based on your own shit, but someone else engineers your downfall. I don't know if that is sensible or not, or even what they're getting at, but hey, episode 2, baby.
Whoa!
Hold on one second.
I was not ready.
All right, I'm back. All right, so here's what we're going to... Oh, there's tips? All right. Here's what's going to happen. I just want to straight up... Here's what's going to happen. We're going to do it like we did for the first time with just no guides, no whatever, just end up where we end up. And then on subsequent go-rounds, I will find the use of a guide. Presumably the one I've been using, it's a Steam guide that worked very well for for Fall Down. That'll presumably continue to work. So it looks like we have what? 3 chapters and then 4 variants of chapter 4. And we have different tip scenarios, tips 1, 2, and tips 3. Okay. And then chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If it follows the same pattern, I'm guessing we don't get to these ones until after we've finished whatever business we have with the 4 boys and their chapters.
Fair enough.
That's just a guess. The tips, though, that's pretty cool. Anyway, again, first, just gonna roll with it. Chapter 1, Spectator. Natsume wakes up as a spectator after death. A spectator after death.
Okay.
Opening a book in an attempt to save his friends, he found the story was different.
I like Spectator because it sounds like Spectator mode after you lose in Team Deathmatch.
Yeah.
But it also sounds like Spectre.
Right? That's really good.
Yeah, I hope that's like deliberate wordplay on the translator's part, because that's very good.
Stuck watching your friends try to get the chicken dinner.
What is this? I could barely hold the book.
I'm good.
My hands trembled as fear and rage bristled through me. What is this? Why must they go through things like this?
Weirdly enough, this has also given me an entirely different context for a different thing in a different story I read. And if you know what it is, if you've heard me talk about it before, you probably know which one, but I won't spoil any more than that. Just pointing it out.
That's interesting. I don't know what you're referring to.
Yeah, I know you don't. It's fine. I'll get you to read it someday.
Thing I have to read. Okay.
Just read your damn line.
I mean, they were meant to become happy. I cherished them. They were meant to find happiness, and yet, it's all Mamiya's fault. They all died because of them. I gently placed the book on the desk. The so-called reality that had taken place within its pages was still somewhat difficult for me to accept.
I wonder if that's why the individual chapter images all look like pulp paperback covers.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? With like that particular kind of yellowing. Looks like they were printed at some point in the 70s and have been sitting around in a used bookshop for a while.
I'm also just realizing the incredible restraint it took for nobody to tell us that this was SK Core in this way.
I want to point... Okay, I don't want the term SK Core to stop meaning anything. Metafiction is one aspect of SK Core, all right? That's one aspect of it. And yes, I do appreciate the amount of restraint it took on everyone to not immediately shout, "It's fiction about fiction!" Ah! Or at least stories about stories, which, you know, apparently is something we like to do. Although maybe that's why everyone was so insistent we play this.
Yeah. And they were right to.
They were right
apparently.
What in the world is Mamiya anyway? And what's this story?
How did you find your first job, Natsume?
Oh. As I stood there with my head hung low, a girl in a librarian uniform called out to me.
Judging by the look on your face, I'm assuming the direction of the story was rather difficult to ascertain.
Why don't I get a little hat?
Would you like a little hat?
Absolutely.
We have some in the foyer.
Excellent.
We've got a tricorn. We have a toque. We've got... Oh, I'm running out of hats.
Fun fact, I've always wanted at once in my life to wear a really little hat. Just to see what it feels like.
I like the aesthetic of it, but at the same time, you can't wear a hat like that like a hat. There has to be like a little clip or something.
Yeah, you need your hat pin.
And as soon as the structural integrity of it is reliant on the hair and not the actual head, then it becomes too easy for it to fall off. At least in my experience, I've tried like hair clipping and stuff before, and unless you've got your hair done in a very specific way to keep it rigid and keep that thing in place, you can't just kind of throw it on as an accessory to your look.
But consider, the hat pin could double as a self-defense tool and or lockpick.
You make so many good points.
I know. Unfortunately, I would look like an absolute prat.
You know what? You're in your 30s now. Who fuck cares if you look a little bit like a prat?
You could show up to work with a fucking fascinator.
I mean, who's gonna stop you?
Hopefully someone. I hope
work
people,
from home.
I hope people have my best interests at heart and would stop me.
I'm trying to think. Probably not. You probably couldn't pull it off with like your usual casual workwear.
Yeah, absolutely not.
The thing about a fascinator is that you really have to coordinate your outfit to it. And that also tends to be the thing with little hats, right? Yeah. Little hats are not just a thing you can put on. Little hats are very much work or don't work based on the rest of the outfit. You have to go to another level of coordination that me throwing on a sweatshirt and nothing else to make a breakfast in the morning doesn't have.
Regardless, I wish that I could wear a hat without looking any way at all, as the old song goes.
Without looking like a little lad or a guy named Chad. Anyway, you get stories like this every now and then. Stories that leave room for many interpretations. Oh, yeah, now I know where her voice is. Okay, no, I understand. Although that is precisely why spectators like you are necessary. I was like around like, no, okay, start with like a feminine kind of thing, see where, and like, nope, I know it now. I know where you are.
Collected as usual, she adjusted her glasses, making them gleam as she gave me a look. It made me painfully aware that this was now my reality. My name was Natsume, the very same man who was being mourned.
Mm-hmm.
I recalled dying once, but the next thing I knew, I somehow found myself in this place.
I must say that I'm surprised. There has never been a case of a person who had memories from before they became a spectator. Are you going to read your narration, or?
It's my narration.
I thought you were waiting because I had a reaction moment, and I'm like, I'm not going to keep bringing it up every time it happens.
It partially was, actually, but then that reset my brain, so I forgot that I'm the one that does the narration for this bit now.
With a smile that seemed to say, and that's why no one even remembers their real names, the woman reached for a nearby pot. I watched as a madder red liquid slowly filled a fancy teacup, making steam lazily rise into the air.
Oh, wait, hold on. No. What do you mean by matter?
It's angy. The tea is
No,
furious.
okay, but like this is a really good word. Hold
Yeah.
on. I'm looking this up.
Isn't there a band called Matter Mortem or something? That's the only thing that word rings a bell.
A red dye or pigment obtained from the root of the madder plant, or a synthetic dye resembling it. Oh, let me see. Madder dye. See what kind of color that is. Oh, okay, yeah. It's a very deep. Here, I'll show you. A very deep kind of. Yeah, almost like a very earthy kind of red. Anyway, that's awesome, and I'm immediately taking that. I love collecting words for colors because when you write things, you kind of don't want to keep saying it was fucking
red.
blue.
It was blue. It was blue as fuck, yo. It was green. It was actually greener than green.
It was actually green. It's like, and there are only so many color names I can get from Gen 1 Pokemon towns, okay? That's how I learned what vermilion was.
The woman motioned for me to take a sip. As I did, the rich scent of the black tea immediately calmed my nerves.
It is also exceedingly rare to get your own story as your first job.
I was surprised myself.
A job, huh? Okay.
I never would have imagined that the world I'd lived in was like this. I mean, inside a book.
Well, you see, the people living in there know nothing about the existence of this world. Are we like Buddha now? Is she? Is she like the Buddha and doing a little bit of outsourcing just to keep things tidy?
Or is this a complete fucking
Misdirect?
a complete misdirect, and it's just the concept of, hey, multiverse of many worlds, and not in any way specifically Buddhist.
Mm-hmm.
No way to know.
Ironically, they may unearth ruins of ancient underground cities, yet never find out about kingdoms in the sky.
I placed my cup into the saucer and slowly looked around. There were bookshelves extending as far as the eye could see. They reached into the sky, and the ceiling was so high up I couldn't actually see where they ended. I felt as though this place was an amalgam of all the libraries in the world. I pronounced amalgam correctly the first time, which is a rare feat for me.
And you pronounced library correctly as well. Normally I see that word and immediately mispronounce it. Congratulations. You have been chosen from countless other souls to become a spectator.
The first time I'd heard that, I could barely process it. I thought I had died, but then ended up waking up in a place like this. It made me seriously question whether or not this entire situation, including my own death, was nothing more than a strange dream.
That's an important point. I do think that the status quo we're seeing here is actually real for the value of the story. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is like, oh, Natsume having a dying dream or whatever.
Mm.
I do think within the fiction of this story that this is indeed how things work. And I'm cool with it because that's like they're setting up the premise, right?
I've never been steered wrong by accepting what's put before me.
I specifically mentioned that I wasn't going to do that and gave good reasons why. It's not that I'm blindly accepting what's put before me. It's that I've considered the evidence and made a decision. There's a difference.
There is, and that doesn't mean I won't willfully misinterpret it. I've had years of practice.
It's a wonder we get anything done here.
Having said that, I couldn't even remember how I died.
Really getting the lines per minute ratio to an all-time low this episode. I'm pretty proud.
I know. I feel like, but also like to actually go off of that. I feel like that's where the value is, right? You don't need us to read you an audiobook. Plenty of Let's Play channels just read audiobooks. Read Vienza's audiobooks to you. And that's fine. That's good for what they are.
We, on the other hand, say stupid memes in front of the audiobooks.
And occasionally have really good observations. And I think that's important.
But when I opened that book, it started with my own funeral. I even knew some of the attendees.
Started with my own funeral. Good God.
And now I remembered it again. The tragic fate that befell someone I had cherished from the bottom of my heart.
You mustn't lose heart.
Miss Librarian.
I realize how awfully unfortunate it must be to still retain memories from your past life. I have to admit, our Lord can truly be mischievous at times.
Our Lord.
Okay. So she's not the big kahuna. She's working for the big kahuna. It seems.
Whomstever that might be.
I mean, early guess, I'm going to go ahead. Like, we're going to say this is where, from what you found, accurate or not, seems to be this is what a Buddha would see.
I'm guessing that MAMIYA is the big kahuna now.
And MAMIYA has a reason to want people to die.
I don't know.
And take their place in the tribe.
Taking big swings.
Maybe because,
conservation of characters.
Yeah. Maybe because them dying, they have a role to play in this realm here. And I don't know. Seems like maybe they're a bit more choosy about that for 5 people who happen to be that closely connected in both space and time to be.
Okay, here we go. Brain expanding rapidly as we speak.
Yep.
MAMIYA is the personification of the impulse to write better stories through suffering, making the world much worse of the story for the people in them to create a thing that is far more engaging for the outside observer.
Okay. And then you think MAMIYA goes bad in that what MAMIYA is doing is approaching suffering for its own sake rather than suffering that tells a story or builds a character or has that extra meaning. Kind of moving closer and closer towards maybe just creating trauma porn and mistaking that for profundity.
Or rather, even if not that, it still involves creating worlds full of suffering for people, even if it is meaningful suffering. Like,
someone's got... The weird thing about that is that implies the existence of the spectators, the audience, right? And that they're being done for their benefit and not for the benefit of the people actually living them, which is strange. Not unheard of, but would be strange.
Yeah,
because really, who is the one that all of this is for? It existed before Natsume became a spectator, right? So it's not just for Natsume's benefit. Our librarian is the librarian. She's not the consumer. She's the caretaker. It's not for her benefit.
Is it for our benefit? Us sitting here on this couch?
Is it for our benefit? Is this like the world of fictive stories? Right. Boop boop.
Calling it now. This is going to end with Natsume fist fighting the author of this game in the rain.
Holding up a cell phone at the center of the universe, trying to contact God. Anyway. Did you read this line?
I don't think so.
Thanks for the consideration. Honestly, though, I don't know if I'm really cut out for this.
You look really extra for someone who's like 18, 19 maybe at most.
Just knowing I'd have to witness their deaths all over again,
There's hardly a need to worry. I'm certain you'll do a splendid job. Just wait till you meet the cat. Oh, I'm sure she's around here somewhere.
The woman placed down her empty cup and looked me in the eye with a gaze full of confidence.
So we both went for very low, very full, round voice. It sounds like we're talking like this to one another. The very low end. Remember, you have been chosen for a reason. The room you were in a short while ago will serve as your private quarters, and I do believe it's already given you a general explanation of this facility, correct?
Yes, thank you very much. I must say, though,
Yes?
this place is almost like heaven.
Getting to read all you want? Yeah, I can see it. She had it. Oh, no.
She had explained to me how people live here. From the private rooms of the spectators to the lavish resting area, everything about this place was wonderful. I was especially intrigued by the cafeteria. Although we technically didn't need to eat, we were still supplied with food for recreational purposes.
Awesome.
Feels weird.
Was that Amethyst from Steven
Yes,
Universe?
that's what I was thinking. Like, it just feels strange. Doesn't need to eat, does it anyway, because it feels funny.
The peace and comfort I had never known in life was easily and readily accessible here. Back when I was alive, I'd thought the happiest place in the world was under my warm sheets.
Hard agree.
But this place blew everything I had known out of the water.
While here, a wealth of wisdom, pleasure, and bliss will be at your fingertips. As one of the chosen, you can have it all. And finally, allow me to introduce you to your work area. So, yeah, okay, so what is his actual goal he's trying to... Because, like, he's got a job. This is work, right? It's like, it's not just, this is a stagnant afterlife where you get to spend the rest of your time. There's an expectation, right? So is he... What is it... What are they trying to find?
Natsume's job is to be the viewpoint character for this piece of metafiction.
Is it just like is it his job to be the viewpoint character so that we here in the audience can read a story and play the game? Or is there some other purpose like within the universe? Is it fully meta or is it mostly meta? This is the main room where spectators and librarians fulfill their duties. Do not be distracted now, and stay close to me.
I'm sorry.
You needn't be. Make sure to steer clear of the darkness, however. Get too close and you won't be able to come back. We really should cordon that off or something. I tried putting a wet floor sign around it, but, you know, darkness. It Maybe like if we put like a little gated rope around it or something secured that won't be, you know, darkness consumed. It's a problem.
Put out a sign, but it fell in the hole.
Exactly.
Sent some folks to build a fence around it, but unfortunately,
Now
hole.
they're in the hole.
Her words sent a chill down my spine. I took another look around as she led me onward and saw books. Books as far as the eye could see.
Books.
Old and new.
and new.
The paths between the bookshelves felt like they could go on forever. A single wrong turn would likely leave you trapped in here forever. How do you reach books that high?
Literal magic. It's what we librarians are for.
The fact she actually heard my silly mutter made me blush.
Do not hesitate to call us, should the need arise. We will always bring you the materials you need for your job. Of course, we will also help you should you find yourself lost.
Right. I felt like it wouldn't be long until I'd need her help.
Oh, the terrifying prospect of becoming lost in an infinite space. There are ways, even if you're lost in an infinite space, if you have infinite time, which you probably do in that case, there are ways to make sure that you do get back to where you know you are. Like, there are space-filling algorithms that will fill, the entirety of it. It just might take a while.
Does that work even if there's closed loops? Or does that only work
We actually don't know if there's closed loops or not. You're right. I'm assuming it would be roughly planar, but if it's not, if there's any if it's like a torus or something like that, well, if there's closed loops in it, then it's not. Then at least in one dimension, it's not infinite. And then as soon as you can recognize that, then there are different algorithms you could do.
Okay.
Anyway.
Do you manage all these?
Yes, though since their number keeps growing without end, there are ones that even I don't know about.
I imagine so. As our books placed next to each other, it seemed almost identical at first glance.
Ah, yes. 50 and 49 shades of gray. You might find this hard to believe, but 49 was actually better.
37 shades of taupe.
That one was, honestly, that was just a bad decision all around. Complete mistake from beginning to end.
It's so strange. It's supposed to be my first time here, yet something about the place feels almost nostalgic.
Oh, but that's only natural. You humans used to be here before you acquired your bodies.
Okay, so do we have, is this like...
Spicy!
Is this like, what's the word I'm thinking of? Anamnesis? Is that what I'm thinking of?
I would actually trust your gut more than I would mine here.
Yeah. Anamnesis from Plato. Do you remember that whole shtick from the Socratic dialogues? I don't remember which one it's in, but there's the one about, you don't actually... Learning isn't actually creating new knowledge from scratch. It's about realizing the things you've already known
learned.
since before you were born.
Yes, you have described this to me before. I don't think I've read that one, but...
Which dialogue is this in?
At some point, we are just going to let's play the Socratic dialogues.
Absolutely. Sign me up instantly. Sound off in the comments if you wish to do this. It's in the Meno, the Phaedo, and the Phaedrus.
Okay.
I haven't read all of them yet.
Dang! Missing out on your Plato lore.
Yeah.
I was.
Yes. Humans are beings with a creator, and as such they are bound to pass through this world in the heavens. Yet in order to manifest as beings of flesh, they must also pass the river of oblivion. That is why people down below don't remember the existence of this world.
Okay, this is
interesting. So they
interesting.
give up on eternity to live in the world of flesh for a while. And the world of flesh is infinite in variation, and it's collected here in the library.
So this is also interesting that we're getting a patchwork of cosmologies here.
This is not just death and rebirth. This is a whole, because there's a lot of very overtly Christian ideas here.
Yeah. But also this isn't. This is the river Lethe from Greek mythology,
right.
specifically
Yeah, this
the
is
river
different.
of forgetfulness.
Yes.
So we've got a whole stew,
A whole
going
mishmash. Yeah. Turns out they were all right. At least partially.
I'm just waiting for a VN or some story set in a world where Sumerian cosmology was right, and there is an afterlife, but it just kind of sucks down there, and there's no food or anything. It's just a drab, crappy world, and you have to rely on your your descendants remembering you as an ancestor and donating food and offering and so on.
That sounds
because
awful.
otherwise you get nothing. And it's not even a good and bad afterlife. There's just kind of one.
There's just the one.
You're just going to go there. That's just what's going to happen. The gods don't really care that much about you. This is probably wildly mischaracterizing Sumerian mythology, but these are the bits I remember from classics and found really, really
Apologies to the Sumerians in our audience.
Yeah.
I see. That would explain this odd feeling of nostalgia.
Normally, upon becoming spectators, people pass the river of oblivion once more. It is quite peculiar that you still retain your memories. But I suppose there are exceptions in every world.
Chuckling, I touched the spine of a book at my eye level.
So wait, that means that... It's confusing because it means that every person on Earth started here, but only some of them are called back to work as spectators? Or is it that humanity exists on Earth separately, and the people in the library can go down to join them and join the world of flesh? No, she said all humans.
Yeah. Are the people in the books humans?
I guess that's the natural question, right? Like, are they human then? It seems complicated, right? Because only some of them are then chosen to be spectators, but apparently all humanity started here before going to the world of flesh. But then why wouldn't they all be able to return?
Maybe folks get stuck there. Maybe you can't. Maybe you can go
yeah,
down
yeah,
there,
yeah.
but you can't necessarily get back.
Right. It's not necessarily possible to extricate yourself once you're there. Maybe that's what MAMIYA is there to do, to try to rescue people who are trapped, who can't otherwise get out of the world of flesh.
Or MAMIYA as like a demiurge thing, where like maintaining some control over this lower realm, this material realm we're seeing in books, and being like the tempter, getting folks locked into these cycles of toxicity and suffering and harm and their worst impulses and so on, so that they have to remain fleshly and can't come back to the spectator world.
Like the big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Right, it's like I'm not able to fuck with whatever's going on up there, but as long as you're down here, I've got some measure of control, and I've got the motivation to keep it that way.
Yep.
Interesting. I need you to read your line now.
I did, though.
Oh.
So, this book chronicles the entire life of a person from human history.
But why did the books he read start at the funeral? Indeed it does. It contains all the established historical truths.
Ooh, I love it when I can hear the air quotes. Historical truths, despite the sheer amount of books in here. I had learned my fair share of world history as a student, but even still, this amount seemed excessive.
There exists more than one world, you see. You might not know them, but there are as many as, if not more than, there are stars in the sky.
Okay, so we do have multiverse stuff going on. Okay.
Yep.
What afterlife tropes are we not gonna go for? That's gonna be interesting. Now that I see we're going for all of them at once.
Afterlife trope soup. Weirdly enough, I don't see us getting like a purgatory scenario, or even like a heaven-hell dichotomy. This seems like something that's more effective when it's just the only game in town.
Okay.
Right. I like the alliterative impact of it would seem. It would seem to be cheapened, at least in my estimation, if there was like, oh, you could become if you're bad, you can become a nigga spectator, or you just never get to like. That feels like something that probably won't appear. It probably won't feature any of the elements from the afterlife as preached by my friend Jim. It involves a lot of Grateful Dead, I'll tell you that much. You might be thinking, is that the band or a metaphor?
Yes.
Yes is
And
the answer.
yes and yes.
She took one of the books and gave me a smile.
Oh, I am so intimidating. I don't have to wear the frilly maid-like outfit. I just choose to. In some worlds, certain wars never came to pass. Others are inhabited by radically different types of animals. Many of these books can't even be imagined by someone from your world.
You're saying there are even worlds like the ones we see in fantasy novels and such?
Indeed. Although that fact alone holds little significance in your case, considering they're not the worlds you'll be responsible for. Each world has slightly different histories and cultures, but the volume is so immense that we are unable to record everything as it happens.
So what you're saying is, I am forbidden from reading from the Battle Shonen section.
On your own time. This is not a full-time job, all right? You get 3 days on, 4 days off.
I'm assuming that's where us spectators come into the picture, right? She turned around to face me.
Careful with some of those fragments in the corner, if you would. They have the tendency to make people a bit obsessive. You look exhausted. Why not have a seat? Try the churro. I've already explained your job as a spectator. Did you?
Yes,
feel
off camera, not to us.
Okay. I feel like we've specifically not heard what our job is, but all right, not us, the audience haven't, but Natsume knows. But I imagine the repeated observations gave you some new questions, so I will explain it all over again. Oh well, thanks. Again, if SK let the visual novel go for one more line challenge.
Please do.
People tend to dislike my explanations due to being too verbose. So instead, I prepared an easy-to-digest song.
You did.
You'll be able to check it again in writing, so do take your time and listen, all right? So allow me to explain a spectator's job. This world has many possibilities that will probably be considered. You should know this now if you've observed the world a few times, the amount of what-ifs. Let us compare stories that were already spectated in the story you were assigned to. The text of stories without any historical truths are set short and only get the gist of it. The text you are assigned to is still merely a rough outline akin to prophecies and fortunes. It is the bare minimum truth that our Lord says to exist. That's why the interpretable margin. And as okay, we'll just read it after. That's too fast for me to do. They may have died, but if we don't, yeah. This is very cute. This is very cute and adorable.
Is there actual? Do we have VA turned off, and is there an actual song?
We do have VA turned off. Hold on. So one thing I did read is that we can see this again afterwards. So what I'm going to try to do after this, hopefully you're all just reading along on your own time like we are, because we can't, it's just too quick. I think this might become one of the tips afterwards.
Okay.
If I had to guess. Okay. If I had to guess. So let me say it again. Huh. So you were to spectate this book and decide its truths, but not allowed to interfere. All right.
So it seems that a book...
Hold on one second. I want to try. Go ahead and talk while I do this.
It seems that a book doesn't contain just one linear story. It contains all of the possibilities for what the truth could have been in that world and its rules.
Those were the choice points that we encountered, huh?
Yeah, and the job of the spectator is to experience all of them and decide which ones are the canonical ones, I think.
How do I get back to the main menu? Here we go. I want to see if that unlocked it as a tip now that we've done it. No, it does not.
It didn't. Okay.
All right, well, I assumed. I believe you should now be able to check everything in writing.
Okay,
She knows about
okay.
She knows about the text log. All right. So allow me to explain a spectator's job. This world has many possibilities that will probably be considered. You should know this by now, having observed the world a few times. There are countless potential what-ifs.
I see.
Let us now compare stories that had already been spectated and the story that you were assigned to.
Ah,
The text of the stories without any historical truths are short and only get the gist of it. The text you are assigned to is no more than a rough outline at present. Akin to prophecies and fortunes, it is the bare minimum truth that our Lord has set. That is why the interpretable margin changes each time you read it. A spectator's job is to record the truth in detail and ultimately decide it.
so there's hope, isn't there? They may have died, but if we don't give up, there's surely a chance they'll find happiness, right?
Noise of me pushing my glasses up on my face. Listen, Mr. Natsume. The story that you spectated unfolded through subjectivity. To the people living in that world, life is entirely subjective. Spectators, however, are objective. Logically, statistically, and astronomically. These stories you have seen so far were nothing more than singular possibilities. In a way, they are like lines in a draft. You draw many lines first, then use a non-erasable pen to select the one meant for the finished work. Now that you have reread the story again and again, you more or less know its lines, right? The most common possibility is the one best suited to be the truth.
But that's death. So, you're saying that possibility is the one best suited to be the truth, and I have to set it as such?
Indeed.
Is there some other way to save them? I want to set their truths after knowing that.
I see that you are very diligent and careful, Mr. Natsume. Or are you like this because you have your memories? Even the newest ones quickly take to setting the truths after spectating just a few times. You are quite the slow-paced worker, I see.
Then, if we rewrite the what-ifs...
That would be interference.
Interference?
Interference is not part of a spectator's job. In fact, mere spectators are forbidden from doing it. It is heresy against our Lord. The mere thought is disgusting. So there, Mr. Natsume, do you understand? Let me say it again. You are to spectate this book and decide its truths. You are not allowed to interfere with it in any way. You are to follow the lines upon lines of possibilities and decide the truths to write the most optimal story. That is the job of a spectator like you. Was I, too fast? I believe you should now be able to check everything again in writing, but, should I sing again as well? I think we're good. I think we're good.
No, I understood that completely.
That's so interesting. I also love that there is, of course, that conflict that arises when you have human-like entities trying to make objective interpretations of things, right? Because what a human-like being decides is objective is not what might philosophically be considered objective. All of us have our own ideas about what makes something more objective than something else. And something as ephemeral and difficult to decide as a story and which one should become truth, there's no metric, right? There's no barometer you can look at. There's no map of data you can create that will tell you objectively what the truth should be. Unless there is. Maybe they have a story machine. I don't fucking know. But if you have a human-like entity making those decisions, their own ideas and biases about the notion of objectivity, about what they think makes a more objective telling, will inevitably seep into what they decide, resulting in something that is not actually objective, but something that is tuned towards the specific preferences and nuances of the person deciding it. So it's really funny that they are meant to find an object. It's like she's treating it like it's a puzzle, like a magic eye puzzle, where if you stare at it long enough, the correct picture will come into view.
Which is why it's pretty convenient that everybody here has no memories or anything and is a blank slate.
Right. And we, as someone who is not a blank slate, are perhaps a bit of a sticky widget. Maybe that's why we're such a slow worker. Because for the people with no memories, they have no attachment or... What does that even mean, no memories? Because it doesn't mean... It means they have no memories of the world, but they still have like the capacity to talk, I'm assuming, and understand what they're being meant to do. But what do they, a person who has no memories, think is objective? I am so fascinated by this. Oh, I'm so glad. That means all my nightly practice sessions have paid off. There's a studio on the 5th floor. You can come by and we'll jam sometime. Nightly. So there is like at least an artificial day-night cycle.
Mhm.
That's fast. It's not just eternal. It's interesting what concessions there are to uniquely human physical experiences of time. You know what I
Yep.
mean? With that settled, I'm looking forward to the fruits of your labor. Guava, specifically.
I wish I had more confidence, though. The idea that it's my job to decide historical truths and how the stories will go, well, it's a bit too much. Why was I even picked to become this spectator anyway? I gotta say, this place sure is big. Unaware that I was lost, I continued talking to myself.
Took a left, instantly lost.
What does it mean to observe anyway? Will I have to keep repeating all that? I don't want to see any of them die ever again. If only I could save them.
You're lucky no one else heard that. You might have been seen as a dangerous element and promptly eliminated.
Who's there? A mischievous, muffled voice rang out from the darkness. As I looked for its source, I found a door that seemed to have just appeared out of thin air. It didn't fit the surroundings at all. Are you behind this? As I brought my ear closer to the door, I heard a man's voice. It sounded strange, both standoffish and reverberating.
You're the new spectator, aren't you?
Yes, a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, sure. You should really be careful what you say, though. They say you've been chosen, but spectators are easily replaceable. Though if you want to know what happens to dead people when they die again, be my guest and do whatever the hell you want.
What the man had told me from beyond the door sent a chill down my spine. My instincts told me that the scenario he described would be a fate worse than death. Who are you?
Didn't the librarian tell you? Spectators got no names. Just like you, right?
But I do have a name. It's Natsume.
Oh, really? What were you influenced by?
I have memories from before I came here.
Now that sure is something, kiddo.
His tone had changed. I couldn't see him, but he sounded right in a way that was different from the librarian, which was why I chose to tell him something I hadn't told her. Actually, I can't say I approve of the stories I saw during my observations.
Well, is that so now?
They were my friends, and they were supposed to lead happy lives. But all their stories end with their deaths, caused by some incomprehensible being called MAMIYA.
Huh.
That shouldn't be allowed to happen.
Shouldn't be allowed, you say?
Do you know something?
No, I ain't know nothing about whatever you're in charge of, I just thought that spectators sure are a diverse bunch.
Are you a spectator yourself?
Who knows?
What should I do? I would do anything to make them happy, but...
Spoken word has power, you know.
Are you
serious?
I sure am. The person behind the door fell silent for a good moment. I simply continued staring at the heavy door, waiting for him to resume.
So, do you want to know how to interfere?
Interfere?
Ain't the librarian give you an explanation?
Well, she did, in her own eccentric way.
Ah, she did her dance, huh?
Absolutely.
Honestly, and I don't usually say this, I did enjoy the dance.
But she also emphasized that interference is forbidden, that we mustn't get involved.
They're dogs who only care about efficiency. Don't mind them. That said, ordinary spectators won't bother with it simply because they can't be bothered. But you, tragically, you ain't no ordinary spectator.
Yes, I have my memories. I recalled the time I spent with them.
So you want to ensure that they end up happy, huh? Obviously, there's always a chance that you'll fail and nothing will change. Your safety ain't guaranteed neither. You might end up dying yourself while in the story.
But I'm already dead.
Didn't you hear what I just said? You're going to interfere, you won't just be watching stuff unfold from way on high. You become a character in the story. So obviously you'd be able to die. So what'll it be, bucko? You keep on observing as your friends die and die over and over again? Or you gonna risk your own life to try and change the ending? The choice is yours.
Life in this place does sound tempting. There wouldn't be a single dull moment. But if it comes at the cost of their happiness, I don't need it. For that, I wouldn't even mind dying.
Ain't you any idea what you're saying? You don't have to die anymore, and yet you're still willing to take the risk.
Well, I'm already dead.
But that means precious little in this here world. You made it here, ain't you?
Still, I don't care how many times I'll have to die.
Said every time loop protagonist ever at about the 60% point.
I just want to give them the endings they deserve. All right. There was a book with a black cover before me. I took a deep breath as I looked at it. I would interfere with the story. The mysterious person behind the door told me I could do it, but I had no idea if I could even trust him. Deciding the truths, huh? I gently ran my fingers along the cover. This brief written work contained countless possibilities, and I had to pick one of them. In that case, let it be a different possibility than the ones before.
Are we going to replay the same scenarios, but now we have different options?
I pleaded before reading the first line. Tokyo, during the year in which the world was prophesied to end. MAMIYA died.
MAMIYA died?
Okay.
What? Let's keep going.
Under a dull, monochrome sky, the rain fell heavy upon the concrete below. 4 silhouettes had gathered, yet the gloomy weather hid their expressions well. None of them had umbrellas. Hanging their heads, they merely stood in place. None of them showed any willingness to move, let alone speak.
These look different.
The tallest man in the group stood with his arms dangling powerlessly at his side, while the heavy rain drenched his dark, inky locks.
He looks like the family friend of the parents of the Blue Net.
Kinda.
Because these don't look like the people. Who are you?
Even covered in droplets, the large glasses of the man to his side did little to hide the pain in his expression. The dark blue blazer of the young man next to him was completely soaked, making it weigh heavy on his shoulders. The last person was a beautiful young girl with chestnut-colored hair. A veil of grief had come over her eyes. She bit into her tiny lips, seemingly as if to hide her emotions. It was a mystery what the 4 had in common. All of them seemed deeply hurt, but they weren't supporting each other. It was evident that they were all strangers. Suddenly, someone broke the silence. MAMIYA. None of the 4 had the energy left to tell which one of them had spoken up. However, the name made all 4 of them look up. And then, their eyes finally met. They stared at each other with pale lips and faces. What is this? I hadn't interfered at all. Until now, whenever I spectated, the story began with my funeral. And yet... Where did they go? Where are Kikuchi Ryo and the others? I want to find out about the entity that brings them pain, MAMIYA.
MAMIYA, but in capital, right? Because it's written with the different.
In katakana.
Yeah.
So what was that MAMIYA died line at the start? MAMIYA died? I found it hard to believe that MAMIYA would die so easily. More importantly, who are these people? I spent a moment in thought, but came up with no answer. For now, I'll just see how this story goes.
And we'll see how this story goes.
Next time?
Yeah.
Next time.
This felt like a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, this felt like the beginning of a new...
I'm so confused by what the fuck is going on, and I love that for us.
Yeah!
I thought we were starting to, get into the rhythm of this game, and, immediately it's like, no, fuck you, you know nothing.
Well, I do feel good that by the end of the first one, I feel like we did at least have some idea of what we had at least some theories and ideas, and some of that was borne out. Us getting our thoughts together before we went on to the next one did indeed help us a little bit out. But it'll be interesting to see what goes on from here and how MAMIYA is connected to MAMIYA.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll see you all next time, everyone. I really hope you're enjoying it, because I know we're having a great time.
Hell yeah.
Bye.
Peace.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.